want you to focus out here. I want you to blank out in your mind. Just listen to me give you the words. Allow them to play out in your mind like a movie. I'm going to take it slow. I'm going to point things out to you. I want you to see everything that this author is giving you to see, paying special attention to place, paying special attention to objects. Okay? She pulled one sweaty leg out from under the sleeping bag. Ginger had it since grade school, and the material, faded pink gingham on one side and powder blue flannel on the other, smelled faintly of sweat. Get a sense of that smell. The ceiling creaked above her as her father shifted in his sleep. Saturday nights were always restless for him, and lately he was upset about the trustees at church. Last week she went upstairs to use the bathroom in the middle of the night and found him sitting in the family room reading his Bible by the television's muted light. Get a sense of that light. He's sitting in the dark reading his Bible by the television. She pulled her pillow over her head. Some nights she felt more dead than others. Last winter, Ted's tires locked on a patch of ice and they'd skidded into the guardrail. Afterwards, she felt dead, as if she'd passed over to the other side. She felt this way again because of the deer, like they'd all died. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. They'd been crooked and devious in their paths, so the paths led down into death. The furnace kicked on, and the house shook as all the vents jiggled to life. Get that feeling of the house around her coming alive. The basement was crowded with damp boxes of family memorabilia stacked on boards in case of flooding. Blue dryer lint clung to every surface, and spiders meditated in the corners. This is where she lives now. She had a room upstairs. She moved down to the basement. You'll find out why in a minute. But this is now where she lives, in this dark, damp, boxed-up basement in the dark. Her father's old jazz records leaned against one wall. Plastic toys on metal shelves filled up another. Even in the dark, she recognized her doll, Kimmy, her toy cash register, and the telephone with the eyes that swayed this way and that. It's sense of those objects. She's living with her dead childhood. Ever since her mother died, nobody slept deeply. Just after the operation, her mother lay in bed, watched TV, read from pamphlets on breast reconstruction, on living with cancer. She cried, sometimes quietly, but usually she'd cry and scream and yell about how she wasted her life, that all the women in the Ladies' Guild could go to hell if they didn't like the way she dressed. God was nothing to her, and the idea of redemption was garbage. Liquid built up inside the stitches, and when they changed the gauze, it was wet and fetid. Smell that gauze. She's got these cancer stitches from all the removal they did, just wet bandages. Ginger leaned over, pulled the side table drawer, got her cigarettes, knocked one out, flicked the lighter, watched the paper ignite and the purple smoke loosen and rise. When her mother first found out she had cancer, she read books about aromatherapy and crystal intervention. She ate brown rice and steamed vegetables and listened to tapes about positive thinking and curing yourself through creative imagination. Her face was always flushed, and her life reduced to anxious waits between doctor's appointments. To her father's horror, she went to the healing ceremony at the local Pentecostal church and had snake oil rubbed on her forehead. When the preacher's hands rested on her head, she said she felt a definite sense of purity and release. That hand on her forehead, that oil. It's very counter to the mild Methodist religion that they have always taken to heart. And she's going to get snake oil on her forehead. It's cancer.
This is rough, right? This is just rewriting. Nobody's going to look over your shoulder. Nobody's going to read this unless you want them to. So just write your way into this. Where we're ultimately going to get is a writing story about a small town and a tree and a boy that hits a dog. Right? That's where we're getting. So as you start with the first step, just kind of keep in mind that that's where we're going before it's all over. In terms of like the human element, right? Like the character, that's entirely up to you. It could be you in the first person, it could be a fictional first person persona, it could be a third person persona, it doesn't matter. But we want this all to kind of happen from a human's eye point of view, not a like a God's eye point of view, right? So you're going to be seeing these things from a human point of view, not from some sort of above, right? Does that make sense? You're seeing these things, you're not talking about these things, right? Okay, so we're going to start with the place, the small towns. I don't write it, like put your pen down. And what I want you to do is just kind of focus on the middle distance a little bit. Just kind of, this is all in your head right now. Just don't like stare at other people because that's going to make them uncomfortable. Don't stare at me, it's going to make me uncomfortable. So just like, I'm going to put a post-it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a post-it note right there.
Everyone's going to look at the post-it note?
And you're just going to look at a post-it note.
Look at the dinosaur. Yes. You should put 2 post-it notes and stuff directly at him.
All right. So, all right.
Okay.
So pins down. Just clear your head. And I want you to have a small town in your head. Right? This is your small town is going to be different than everybody else's small town. This is a small town that it could be one that you're familiar with. It could be something that's entirely an invention. It could be something today. It could be something you remember from your childhood or something you imagined from before you were born. But see what the town looks like. The storefronts and cars on the road, if there are cars on the road. The roads themselves, what they look like. Think your way through, not just that, right? Don't just neglect the other senses, right? Like the town will have sounds, smells. You should be thinking through seasonal stuff, weather stuff, too, right? What does the air feel like? Remember, we want a human point of view here. What does the air feel like on your skin? Quality of light, is it day, is it night? So zoom out away from your town a little bit, and where is it geographically? Where is it in the world? You don't have to name a place. It doesn't have to be a specific place, but you have a sense of a region. Where is the town situated? What is the town for? What does this town do? Is it a farming town? Is it an industrial town? Once you get a solid picture of that town in your head, go ahead and write your way into it. Just find a space in your journal.